Hey everybody, welcome back to the Blue Ridge Comedy Podcast. I'm Shawn Carter. This week I'm speaking with Becca Reeves of Vision Salon and Day Spa. Of course, we talked about bad haircuts. I've had a couple in my time, and I'm trying to convince her to send us a picture of some bad ones that she had as a child. So we'll get those up in the show notes. We talk about being transplants. We're both from out of town and both running businesses here in Bristol now. And we talk about our favorite brunch spots here in Bristol. And by the end of the episode, Becca makes a huge announcement, so make sure to listen all the way to the end. I'm here today with Becca Reeves of Vision Salon.
Hey, Shawn.
Bristol, Virginia.
Yes, Bristol, Virginia. That's
other side of the street from where we're at.
That's right.
At the club. And so you've run this salon for a while now. How long have you been open at this point?
So officially opened at the end of 2020, which was super fun to open a close contact business during a pandemic.
Yeah, wow.
So that was a good time. And then to now, although I did officially sell the business last year and sold it to a woman, and now I just work there, which is the best thing I've ever done.
I was going to say, that's even better.
It's great. I get to see something that I built and created be elevated, to a higher status through somebody else's eyes and vision.
Yeah. And you could focus on the things that you enjoy doing, right?
Exactly. So, yeah.
Well, congratulations on
Thank
that.
you. Yeah, it was great.
So I want to ask you a couple of questions just about, well, first of all, we know each other through just, you've come to the club with, I think the first time probably you came in with Anina.
Yes, I believe so, yeah.
And you've been on stage here. You've performed on shows here.
I have, yeah.
And just a good friend of the club, so we're happy to have you here.
Thank you.
For sure.
Yeah.
We're always happy to have you here, but specifically for this right now, this is going to be fun.
Thank you for asking.
I actually go over to Vision Salon to get my hair done.
You do, yeah. Our barbershop just won Best Barbershop in Bristol.
Nice.
So.
And rightfully so.
Thank you, yeah.
It is funny because it's like you really need to trust somebody with your hair. It's so hard to, just go to find if you move, that's a huge question. Where are you going to go get your hair done?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a little scary at times. For men and women. And honestly, I think men, y'all are worse than women.
Do you think so, really?
As far as being picky about your hair? Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
That's really funny.
That's one of the reasons I built the barbershop is so I could kick all the men out of my chair. I was tired of dealing with them. Oh, yeah. I was like...
Do you not cut men's hair at all?
There's like a couple that got grandfathered in. But it's like I don't cut it well.
Right, because it's not what you do, right?
It's not my specialty. Yeah. But for some, there's a few that have stuck around, and it's like, fine, you'll get a mediocre haircut with me, but you get me, so there's that. And if you want a great haircut, you can go to the barbershop.
Maybe they're there for the conversation.
Maybe.
I don't know. It's like, so my grandmother was a hairstylist, and so when I was a little kid, when I was like 10 or whatever, I always remember being in her shop and just hanging out there.
Yeah.
And if she was babysitting me or whatever, I'd be in her shop being babysat while she was working, or if I was waiting for a haircut from her, because, my parents were going to pay somebody to cut my hair when my grandmother could do it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I just remember that, being in a hair salon and just the gossip and all the women are always talking about. It was usually about who won at the casino, but it was a lot of gossip. Is that a big part of the experience at your place?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that we try to keep gossip to a positive side.
Sure,
But we know what's happening in Bristol for sure. If something goes down in this town, we're aware.
It's being talked about.
It's being talked about in the shop for sure, 100%. And I like to say that, clients, 50% of the reason they come to me is for their hair. The other 50% is just so we can chat and have that relationship. And a lot of my clients have been with me for a decade, so it's we've grown and, I've seen them, get married, have babies, live their lives. And then, same thing with my life, and they're all heavily involved in what I have going on, sometimes too much, have to rein them back in. They all have an opinion about my life. So,
It's funny though, as you can be in business and your clients, it's the same thing here at the club. It's the clients, customers, whatever, that are here most often. It's you're almost friends at a certain point.
You know? Absolutely.
There's certain people that I'm here that I'm I hang out for an hour after the show chatting,
Yes. Yeah.
So it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So are you originally from Bristol?
I am not.
Okay.
I am from Austin, Texas.
Austin,
originally.
Texas.
Yeah.
So that explains the next thing that I'm going to talk about, because I know you're not a Tennessee Titans fan.
I am not. Absolutely
if
not.
you're watching the NFL.
Yeah, I'm Dallas Cowboys. Are you kidding me? Absolutely. Sir, my son's name is Witten for a reason.
We have talked about
yes,
that.
Yeah. We are diehard Dallas fans in our house. Although at the time when it came to naming him, I knew I wanted to name him after a Dallas Cowboy football player.
Mm-hmm.
But, of course, started looking at 90s Cowboys to begin.
Mm-hmm.
But I just felt like with some of those, it would have given him like a predisposition to cocaine and hookers. So
Wait, which never mind.
I mean, but let's be honest.
Some of them.
That's how Dallas was winning Super Bowls back then. Okay, so,
back in the 90s.
Back in the 90s.
Yeah.
So we went with a less controversial.
It's great.
Yeah, great, wholesome guy.
Look,
great man.
He won me a couple fantasy football championships.
Yeah,
I love Jason Witten.
Yeah, great guy.
That's great. So you moved up from Austin to Bristol.
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of. Well, you live here now, right?
I live here now.
Okay,
yeah, I've been here almost 10 years.
At some point, you went from Austin to
East Coast. I was Wilmington and Savannah. Spent some time in the Virgin Islands, and then came to Bristol.
So, oh man, how long did you live in the Virgin Islands?
Almost 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you said, you know what? I'm gonna leave this.
Right.
I'm taking off.
Yeah, kind of.
Not for me.
I would have stayed there forever. But I do have 2 children.
Sure.
And, being on the same continent, at least as their grandparents, makes it a little nice, so they can be active in their lives. They were a little upset that I was having babies and living on an island, and they weren't around.
Yeah, sure. I understand. Okay, so you want to be a little bit closer to the family.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
But this is home now, and this will be home for a long time.
And Bristol, I moved down from like the Boston area, and you lived in Austin, the Virgin Islands. It's a good place, right? Like to live. I know it's on the sign, but like it's really nice here.
It is. I do find that, especially our downtown community.
Yeah.
About 50% of the businesses that are owned down here are owned by Bristol transplants.
Yeah.
So it's all people that came here and saw Bristol and decided they wanted to invest in this community. And it's a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah, they have a really good, there's like a nice downtown sort of cooperative
absolutely.
effort, I would say, where people are trying to kind of help raise each other up,
Yes.
Yeah.
One tide lifts all boats.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the saying. How long have you been in the stylist game? How did you get started?
Yeah. Well, from the moment when I was a little girl, I was 5, telling my parents that when I grew up, I was going to, be a hairstylist to the stars. And so I took a little bit of a different path, though, initially. I did want to go to hair school right out of high school, but there's a little bit of a stigma with that, at least back then. I'm not going to say how long it's been since I've graduated high school, but it's been a minute. And so, definitely was pushed to go the college route, traditional college route. And that, college to me was a social event. I was there to have a good time and not necessarily educate myself. And so, I went a different path. And then when I was 25, I decided I'm going to follow my dream and I'm going to go back to school and I'm going to do hair. Yeah. And I haven't looked back since. So
and just been much happier in life. Just
absolutely.
As a result.
Yeah. Well, and just like any career, like hair, or like, running a business or comedy club and all that, there are people that do it and then there are people that do it well. And what separates us is your drive and your passion and your want to continue to educate yourself and do well in your career field. So for me, there's hairstylists that, it's a hobby to them. It's, little, they just do a little hair and, whatnot. I take my job very seriously. We have a good time at the shop, but at the end of the day, that's my career.
Yeah.
And so I've been fortunate and blessed because of that and have been able to make a beautiful life for myself with it.
I do want to touch on what you had said earlier about cutting men's hair.
Yeah.
If you don't normally cut men's hair.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. So like I said, I would always get my hair cut by my grandmother who cut women's hair. So she was not. She didn't cut little boys' hair. So she would always mess up my hair, and it was always bad. Whatever. But one day I was at school. I remember this was like 5th grade, and this was like a good example of why not to like bully people, because there's like a boy there with like a bad haircut, and I was like, "Hey, nice haircut," like being like sarcastic, and he didn't pick up on it. He was like, "Oh, thanks. I went to your grandmother's shop."
No.
Oh no.
Oops.
I was like, "Whoops. All right. Well, I guess I should keep my mouth shut from now on." You know.
I have a son that Witten,
Yep.
and I've cut his hair his whole life, and so when we opened the barbershop, I finally was like, all right, like I'm gonna let them do it. It's one less free haircut I've got to do.
Right.
And so he goes in there and he gets his haircut, and he comes out and he's like, Mom, this is the best fade I've ever had. I was like, sir, I'm the only one that's ever given you a fade.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't wrong, okay?
Yeah.
Like, it looked great.
But it hurts a little,
But
right?
yeah, that stung a little.
Yeah, sure. I hear you.
Like, jerk.
Yeah, I used to actually, when I moved down here to Bristol for through like all of the pandemic time when we couldn't go outside, I didn't get a haircut. My hair was down to my shoulders.
Oh, God.
Yeah. For one, because I didn't want to like go to somebody that I don't know, close contact, like you said.
I get it. Yep.
Another, like, I didn't know anybody here. I didn't know where would be a good place to go get a haircut.
Yeah.
So I waited until like we were finally able to travel, and by the time that I had hair down to my shoulders, and I went back to Boston to go to my regular barber.
I love it.
Who's a guy named Anthony Costa. He's got 2 barbershops in Boston. They're both great.
Yeah.
But I would not go anywhere else.
Yeah.
And then now that I'm down here and I've found, your place in Blake, I go to Blake now.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Blake's pretty awesome. We like him.
Yeah, he's great.
The brother I never wanted.
So what's like the most challenging type of haircut or style to create for somebody? Like, do you have people that come in and they're like, I want to look like this, and you're like, oh, how am I gonna bring this hair along to that?
Yeah, well, here's the thing about inspiration photos is, 50% of the time they want to look like the person, like the face.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm not a plastic surgeon.
Right.
I didn't go to school for
I'm like,
that.
I would like to look like Paul Rudd. Could you get that?
Yeah, can you make that happen? I'm like, I mean, I can give you the hair that's on Beyonce's head, but I can't make your face look like Beyonce. Like, there's nothing I can do for your face.
Yeah.
I can give you a number to a plastic surgeon, though. I'm happy to
There's one in Bristol, right?
I don't know that I'd use one in Bristol.
Oh,
maybe. Sorry, I'm sorry. That's rude. I don't know the plastic surgeons in Bristol.
I
don't know them.
surgeon in Bristol.
They're probably great.
You would recommend somebody else because you know somebody else.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so definitely I would say I don't know. There's one specific like this type of haircut is like super hard to execute. I mean, there are some, but it's like, but for the most part, it's just managing the expectations of your clients.
Yeah.
Is that when they come in and they're like, hey, Becca, like, I have these inspiration photos. This is what I want. And really just making sure you're communicating with them what's going to, one, look best on them, and 2, maintaining the integrity of their hair. So I'm a color specialist. So a lot of what I do is, hair coloring and all that kind of stuff. And you're dealing with chemicals with that. So it's like you have to be very careful. One of the biggest things is obviously blondes. Most people, when they want to be blonde,
right,
no matter what color their hair starts with. And explaining to them that I can get their hair white, but it may not be attached to their head anymore.
Right.
So that's the problem, that it's like healthy hair looks the best.
Yeah.
So unhealthy hair, no matter if it's the right color or not, if it's unhealthy, it's going to look like shit.
Right.
And also that's my work walking around. So
that's like your brand every time that somebody gets their hair done with you and they go, oh, Becca did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can't have people walking around with bad haircuts.
Exactly. Yeah. No. So I would much rather, the saying under promise, over deliver is, I really just try to be realistic with them, let them know what to expect, and then hopefully overperform that. But if not, that's okay because they have their expectations. But healthy hair, number one. That's my main goal every single time, is that when you leave here, your hair looks better and feels better than when you walked in the door.
And I assume that you deliver this news, manage expectations in a tactful way. You're not just doing their hair and going like, I don't know about this girl.
Yeah, depends on
depends
on the client, how long they've been a client. There are some that I'm just like, yo, that's a no. But no, I would like to think that for the most part, I always try to operate in the realm of kindness anyway.
Yeah.
And especially when dealing with my clients, people that are paying my bills, definitely operating in the realm of kindness. But yeah, just, giving them some options that maybe work better for them.
Yeah, so that leads to my next question, which was going to be, have you just ever outright refused to do something that a client asked you to, as far as like my wife told me that, well, Sarah, you know Sarah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
She told me once that she went to her hairstylist and she's like, I want to get bangs. And they're like, no, I'm not doing that to you.
Okay, so yes, I actually have a rule on bangs.
Okay.
So my bang rule is it takes 3 appointments for you to tell me you want bangs before I will give you bangs.
'Cause you don't want impulse decisions
Yeah,
like that.
exactly.
Okay.
So it's like, all right, girl, you think you want bangs? Okay, well, think about it. And in 6 weeks, tell me again. And then in 6 weeks again, tell me again you still want bangs.
Okay.
Then we'll talk about cutting bangs. Because bangs are a commitment. So I need to know that you're committed through the process of wanting bangs before we even give you bangs.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, there are times that I wouldn't call it outright refusal. I mean, I am refusing to do what they want, but more again, redirecting their thoughts to more realistic expectations for themselves. Because there are times that people come in and the idea of what they want and the photos that they show will not work for them.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of figure out the nicest, kindest way to tell them no.
Sure. Yeah. I hear you.
I mean, another impulse thing that happens a lot in my industry is that people don't realize is when women have babies. So their bodies, I mean, we all know when women have babies, tons of hormones are going on and all this kind of stuff happens. But for some reason, there's this triggering thing that happens and all women want to cut their hair off. So
like while they're pregnant, or you think after?
It's towards the end of the pregnancy or right after postpartum. And I'll be interested to hear if there's any women that listen to this podcast that went through that and did that, because I'm sure they're out there.
Yeah.
And so same thing as the bang rule is, if you come to me, especially if you just had a baby and you tell me to chop your hair off, the answer is no. Again, we think about it. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
And if you still want it again, you get 3 month, 4 month, 5 month postpartum and you want to chop your hair off, fine. And if that doesn't work for you, then I'm not the stylist for you and you can go to somebody else and they'll cut it off.
Right.
But, I'm not going to.
Well, it must be nice to have that kind of customer base that you're like, you know what, go somewhere else. I'm not the right person.
I mean, there's enough heads of hair for everybody.
For sure.
And I'm not for everybody.
Yeah.
And just like every client isn't for me either.
Yeah.
So, there are clients that I've had in the past that, I've said, maybe I'm not the right stylist for you.
It's better to know that.
Yeah. I mean, it's the relationship that you have with your barber or stylist, it's a personal relationship.
Yeah.
And, just like dating and just like friends and all that, you can be the nicest, greatest person in the world. Doesn't mean you're my person.
Right. Yeah, I know. One more haircut with Blake, and I'm going to ask him to go fishing with me.
Oh, I love it. Oh.
I like that dude.
Yeah,
And
he's a good dude.
Our kids go to the same daycare, so I always see him down there.
Yeah, I didn't know your daughter was ever. I don't want to name drop where your kid goes to school, but my kids went to the same place.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
So it's a great school. Yeah.
Yeah, they've been super nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to ask if you guys offer any other services, but then I looked up what you have there. I went on your website.
Oh, okay.
Which people can just go to.
Yeah.
visionspa.org.
Yes.
Right? And find all of that information. And I had found something that I didn't know what it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm probably going to mispronounce this, but balayage. Oh, I love that.
How did I know? I just knew in my head that is exactly what you were going to say.
Yeah, because why would I know what that is?
Yeah, so balayage.
right.
So it is a French term for free hand painting.
Oh.
So, I'm glad you asked this question because a lot of people get it confused and they think that balayage is a color. Mm-hmm. So they'll come in and say, I want balayage color. And I'm like, okay, well, like, what exactly? What color?
You're like frustrated while going through the thought of this right now.
I'm like, what color exactly do you want? Well, I want balayage. I'm like, okay, so balayage is a technique, not necessarily like a cut and dry color. But basically, it's a way of applying lightener, or some people would say bleach, which we try to keep away from in the hair industry. It's lightener to the hair in order to create a very natural highlighted look. So a balayage is intended to be a more low maintenance hair color, which is actually something I specialize in. So that is a specialty of mine, is low maintenance hair color. So I can have clients that only see me 4 times a year, and even when it's right before their next appointment, their hair still looks great. So that's used for that. It's not for you can do a balayage on somebody that needs their gray coverage and all that kind of stuff, but it's like on top of that. So you wouldn't get gray coverage with a balayage.
So it's like you would color the hair first and then
Yeah,
balayage.
you can, or as we call it, a dual process color. Yeah,
Right,
so it's like
okay.
we do it at the same time, or it's a second step to the hair color.
Gotcha.
Depends on the stylist and kind of their way of doing it. I go both ways, so it depends on the client as well.
Cool. Well, I thought that was interesting because I was like, oh, it's just dye. It's just hair dye. But it is not.
It is not. It's a technique.
Yep.
So it's on our website. It's listed as a service. It is a more intricate, and I would say it is not something that like a baby stylist executes probably pretty well. It is something that it takes a lot of time of training to really get it. It's a heavily blended hair color. So in order to get it to look proper, like a proper balayage, and be blended correctly, it took years for me to really refine that skill and get it to where it
Well, you're clearly good at it now because I always see the posts on, I think it's Instagram that you posted on Facebook, but I always see them and I'm always like, what is this hair? And then I look and it's always your stuff and I'm like, oh, wow.
I love it. Thank you. Yeah.
It looks great. So, let's talk about some fun, like, sort of Bristol stuff.
Okay,
So, just, like, basically, I'm going to ask you about some of the stuff that you like around here. Like, if you were going to go to brunch, what's a...
Ooh, if I'm
give
going
me
to
a brunch
brunch
place that you want to go to.
Okay, well, I am a millennial, so we love our brunch.
Oh, you're going to give that info?
Yeah, I'll give that. I was about to age it, but then I was like, let's not go exact. So that gives me like a 10-year buffer, right?
Yeah, sure, okay. Yeah. You could be anywhere within.
I'm a young millennial. Just kidding. Anyway, there's a slew of restaurants in Bristol that do brunch right. So I'm gonna name 3, if that's okay.
Great, yeah, that's
okay. So I'm Bloom Cafe is definitely one of the top ones for sure. And if you're coming into Bristol and you want to do brunch at Bloom, you need to make a reservation
for sure.
Ahead of time, not Saturday night. Like we're going to brunch tomorrow. It's like a week ahead. Make your reservation. Worth it though. And then Union 41, Chef T's new place.
I was there yesterday.
Heck yeah. Okay. Yeah. Was yesterday was Sunday?
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day. Okay. I was like, you brunched it yesterday.
Yeah, we went to brunch there yesterday with my mother-in-law and my father-in-law.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah. And then Jay Frank. They have brought back their brunch buffet. I don't know if you're aware of that or not.
I did not know that, and I don't follow the brunch happenings around Bristol, but I do have some favorite restaurants, and I think Jay Frank is
up there.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, the food is so good.
You and Sarah have to go for the brunch. It's especially now that they have the brunch buffet back because it's like 2 rooms. For those that don't know, Jay Frank is in a historical home, so it's a bunch of rooms and things like that. But 2 of the rooms are just filled with. One room is like breakfast, and they've got like an omelet bar and waffles and all the things. And the next room, they have a full carving station with your deep fried turkey and your beef tenderloin, and it's great.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
I'm going to have Sarah bring me there.
Yeah, please.
For her birthday.
For her birthday. Happy birthday, Sarah. Take me to brunch at Jay Frank.
Please take me to brunch.
You
make all the money. Please take me to brunch.
Let me know when y'all's reservations are.
Yeah, we'll bring you along.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it'd be great.
Yeah, I'd love to come.
Okay, so Union 41, which you had just mentioned. They just opened, like a month or 2 ago?
Yeah, I think 2 months ago. Yeah.
And the chef was on television, so that's
Chef T. Yeah.
And they have like an open kitchen sort of concept.
Absolutely,
there. So you've been over there a bunch. It's
T's a good friend. I love her, and her partner Katrina is a good friend of mine as well.
Nice.
They have a son who goes to the same school as my kids, and they live down the street. So they're great people.
Yeah,
love them.
I love the. It's funny. I kind of love the small town stuff in Bristol. Where you're like, oh yeah, everybody knows each other.
Absolutely. I always say I know who to call, and if I don't know who to call, I know who to call that knows who to call.
Yeah.
For anything.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, this is the thing that I want to tell you because you're talking about coloring hair, and that's your specialty.
Yeah.
When I was like 17, I colored my own hair, and
I wish y'all could see my facial expression.
I wish we did have this on video right now because you just the look of disappointment on your face was just, it's palpable in this room right now. But I was 17. I dyed my own hair, and I mean, like straight bleach, just like right on there.
Yeah.
And I was like, why does this burn so much? And
Yeah.
I think after the first time, it was like orange. It was not blonde. It was orange.
Yeah.
And the second time, after like really killing it all, it was just straight like blonde, like no color in my hair.
Yeah.
And then I just spent like the next, I don't know, 6 months like that until it all grew out or whatever.
Yeah.
But I have pictures. I'll post them in.
I would love to see it.
Yeah, somewhere. If you're listening to this, I'll post it so that there's a link that you can.
So you were the real Sean Shady.
Yeah, check the show notes. It was. I mean, I was in high school at the time that probably. Well, I think he came out around the time that I graduated. But yeah, Slim Shady. Except it was like the longer hair, like sort of mushroom cut sort of thing. So it was all, all the bad decisions that you can make in the late 90s.
Yeah, there were some
All
bad
at
hair
once.
choices then.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, Sean, I can't judge, although I blame my mother for it. But I had terrible hair as a kid. And in fact, once had a boyfriend who I had gone to sleep and he had gone through my family photo album that was just like in the living room, which I don't know why I had it in the living room. And the next day he was like, yeah, I went through like all the family photos. And he goes, you know how I knew which one you were? And I was like, well, how? Because I'm the cutest one? Like, hello? And he said, no, you were one with the terrible hair in every photo. And I was like, that's my mother's fault. That's why I'm a hairstylist now, so I can prevent children from having to walk around like that.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Now you're just saving hair. You're saving lives.
Saving lives, yeah. Obviously, I broke up with him after that, too.
You what?
I said, obviously, I broke up with him after that, too.
After that. I mean, that's funny. Well, look, if you feel up to it, you can also send us a picture that we'll post.
Oh my God! Oh, you know what?
If you're not afraid
Sean?
you're not afraid of demolishing your brand by posting a childhood pic with bad hair.
We'll
post that in the show notes as well.
Okay, for the sake of the show, I'll do it.
All right.
If anybody saves that photo and posts it anywhere else on the internet, though,
it becomes like a famous meme.
I will literally die.
Bad haircut Becca.
Stop! You can't give it a trademark name.
All right.
Hashtagged already.
Yeah. Oh, that's fun. All right. So, do you have any reviews of your business that you think about like more than you should? Because I've had a couple people that I've talked to that have been like, I got this review, either good or bad. It could be either way, but if it's bad, we're not going to judge you. We know that other person is wrong.
Absolutely, they're wrong. I have had one bad review, and it wasn't. I cried. As a business owner, it's like you work so hard, and put your heart and your soul into creating a beautiful business, and then also having the best customer service that you can have. Yeah. It was kind of a miscommunication thing that had happened. I had let a stylist go that was working with us at one point. And, she had reached out to, her clientele to let them know that she was going to be at a different salon, which is all gravy, and one of the people was missed. And so the person showed up at our place for their appointment and was rightfully frustrated. They had taken off, from work to be there. And thankfully she didn't know that I owned it at the time. Cause she, in her review, talked about the person she talked to, how nice they were. And I was like, well, that was me. But basically gave this like scathing review about how we should have, made sure and all that. And to be honest, like you said, I still think this is years ago. And it still bothers me, and I still think about like what could I have done differently, and the different things to grow from that, and did learn from that experience that it's like okay, maybe thankfully haven't had to let anybody go since then. But if that were to ever happen, that we also double check and follow up with those things and making sure that everybody knows where everybody's at, and all of that. But I just wish people would, before posting a negative review. Give the business an opportunity of reaching out to them directly. To solve your problem. And if you don't like the way the owner handles it at that point, by all means, let people know. But I think in our day and age where everybody's so quick to jump on the interwebs, it can be a little frustrating. But thankfully, that was my only one. And if this lady listens to this, just know that I cried for like 4 days. So
it had the desired effect.
Exactly. It was awful.
I was going to say, I had looked up the reviews and stuff. I didn't read all of them, obviously, because there's so many. But But yeah,
hopefully they're all good, right?
4.7 stars on Google, which is great.
Yeah, so it's probably that one review. That's
that one's dragging down your average.
Yeah.
But what are you gonna do? But it is like when you're running a business, it is very hard when somebody's like, okay, they're going to they're working somewhere else, and they say to you, "I'm gonna tell all of my people." It's so easy to just go, "Great, I don't have to worry about that."
Yeah.
But then when they don't do it, it backfires. So
exactly.
It's hard to keep up with stuff like that because you have so much on your plate already.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next question, and then you have something. Are you gonna announce this on this podcast?
I mean, sure.
All
yeah.
right,
Let's go. Yeah.
And then we have an announcement after this. We'll do this question. And then we
okay.
have an announcement that you'll hear first here on this podcast.
Yeah.
As long as Becca doesn't announce it somewhere else between now and when I edit this and get it online, which is totally cool if you do. But so let's say that you have a friend visiting that's never been to Bristol before.
Yeah.
What would you take them to, or have them come see, or whatever?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, downtown Bristol, I think, is where all the happenings of Bristol happen.
It's the cool place to be.
It is. I mean, there are some other, onesies and twosies outside of that. But really, it's like, downtown is where we spend our time when I have family and friends, come in to visit. So, I mean, first things first, obviously we're coming to the comedy club. There's that, we got to.
Great. I love that answer.
Yeah. Got to come here to Blue Ridge. And then let's see. I mean, I would love to take them to, to eat at Bloom or, over to Union and see them. The Birthplace of Country Music Museum. I think people, especially locals in Bristol, forget about it or just don't go. And I encourage everybody to check it out. The people that don't know, the Birthplace of Country Music Museum is actually a subset done by the Smithsonian. And so if you're a museum person, it's like, I mean, it's cool. And even if you're not a museum person, the way they have done it over there is right. And it's a great spot. And spend a couple hours and learn a few things. So definitely that. Any sort of live music in town. I mean, there's always a band somewhere. Growing up in Austin is the live music capital of the world. Nashville, you're not. Sorry.
Throwing a little shade out there.
Well, also, I mean, not only Nashville think they're the live music capital of the world, but Nashville also thinks they're the birthplace of country music.
That's right. They're making a lot of claims.
They're making a lot of claims
Nashville.
that both are false. So again, I happen to have lived in both places that it's true for.
Yeah.
So I love live music. And so, letting people that are coming in to experience like what we have to offer here, we have amazing musicians in this area. I mean, it is incredible. So that's always fun to do. And then, let's be honest, depending on who's coming into town, there's always the State Street Stumble. And,
I thought this was like a music festival that you're talking about. Like, that would be a good name for a music festival.
Yeah, the State Street Stumble, it's an unofficial Bristol event. Okay, so
this is like a bar crawl.
Basically, yeah. So like, I mean, you don't get a T-shirt or anything. It's not it's not like sanctioned by like like the chamber or anything like that. In fact, I'm pretty sure they discourage us from doing it.
They're probably not thrilled with this conversation.
Yeah, probably not. Come to Bristol, get wasted. It's actually a good time though. But
stay at one of the hotels.
Stay at one of the hotels.
Yeah, don't drive anywhere.
Don't drive. No, you. Yeah. But I don't. For those that don't know, the main strip of State Street is a half a mile from one end to the other. So to go from on the beginning end, there's a bar there, restaurant and bar called The Corner.
Yes.
On the corner.
Great place.
Yeah. So you start there, and then you just continue down the street, and at the other end of the street is a local watering hole favorite called O'Mannon's Pub.
Oh yeah.
And for those that have never been to Bristol or have never been to O'Mannon's,
is that last stop no matter what?
Every time. And O'Mannon's has been grandfathered in, which I'm not even sure how. And it's 2023.
Yeah. You wouldn't think this would even be
a thing.
Yeah.
You can smoke inside of this bar. Now, mind you, I don't smoke, but after enough cocktails, I no longer smell cigarette smoke. So I'll go in there, and then I have to burn everything I was wearing the next day.
Oh yeah.
But and my bed sheets if I didn't shower when I got home.
They have a nice little back yard area too.
They do,
like
yeah.
I
So
shouldn't
that's
say backyard. It makes it sound like
it's really somebody's
like
house that we're encouraging you to go to.
Yeah, they have a nice little outdoor area.
They do, yeah. So when the weather's good, you can get out there and get away from some of the smoke, and they've got great bands that go there. But it's it's a local favorite.
Yeah.
I mean, it's our version of Cheers. You know, like everybody knows everybody, and
Yeah.
everybody's somebody at the pub.
Yeah. Last time I was over there, we had a 7-foot tall guy with us. He was playing the club, and everybody that he walked past just looked up like, "Holy crap!" Like, you know,
Who is this man?
A couple comics. We all went there with Spence.
Yeah.
If you don't know, if you're listening, Spence owns Cascade.
Yes, which is actually past the pub, but you go there before you go to the pub.
Yeah, that's part of the coming back.
Yeah,
around.
coming back, circling back around.
You'll be at Cascade if you do the stage
Oh,
system.
absolutely, yeah.
But we went there, and I don't know if I'll leave this on here. I might cut it later, but I'm going to tell you this anyways. We were hanging out with a guy who is he just kind of latched onto our group during the course of the night. And was just
that
like,
happens. You pick up stragglers on the State Street
we had a
stumble.
straggler that just joined us.
That's okay.
And we got to O'Mannon's because Spence was like, let's keep partying. Let's go to O'Mannon's.
Yeah.
And we went down to O'Mannon's, and we got to the door, and as we were going in, the straggler handed his license to the guy at the door, and the guy just looked at him and went, "Banned for life." And we were like, sorry, I guess we're done hanging out tonight, sir.
Yeah.
And he was just like, no, I knew that.
And what it takes to get banned from the pub for life.
God, I don't know what he did. But it bothered somebody.
Yeah. See, that's funny. So the guy that owns O'Mannon's pub is this guy Patrick Manning, who's incredible, another downtown Bristol guy.
Right on.
And when they started their system where they can scan your IDs to get in and put messages in, thankfully I'm not banned for life. And in fact, I got always let this girl in.
They go, give her a drink, hand her a beer when she walks in the door.
So, I was actually at a different downtown establishment one night called State Line, which for those that don't know, on Friday and Saturday night, especially Saturday night, State Line becomes quite the young crowd. I'd like to think I'm a part of, but I'm not. But I was that night. Okay.
Do you go to State Line? Because I can't.
Oh yeah.
It's too young for me. I can't be in there.
Shawn, I was there Saturday.
Okay.
Thought I was 22. Yeah. So we wrap up the night, and State Line closes a little bit before the pub.
Yep.
And so I'm with one of my girlfriends and had some stragglers. Like, oh, y'all going to the pub? We're coming. And so we get to the pub, and the pub has a new policy that after State Line closes, they don't let anybody else in the pub because they don't want.
People go from one to the other.
Yeah,
they're like, "Oh, we're not done drinking yet."
Yeah, and it's 2 a.m. at this point. The pub's like, we're staying open an extra hour, but like with our guests that are already here. So they have this new door guy there, and Shawn, you've known me well enough. I never make a scene. I'm just always like, I'm pretty much a rule follower for the most part.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, excuse me, sir. I think if you scan my ID, I can come in here. And he was like, he goes, I've never heard of that. What are you talking about? And I was like, can we just try? Like, can you just give it a little swipey swipe and see what happens? So he scans my ID and he's like, all right, come on in.
That's so
And
funny.
the people that had tried to come with us, same reaction you had to your friend. I was like, well, it was nice hanging out with you. Bye.
Yep. See you later.
Later, loser.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So FYI,
You got some power over there. That's
I'm just
nice.
saying, you got to have Patrick set you up with the.
I gotta have a always let them in
code
on there.
That's right. Yeah.
I didn't know they could do that.
They can do that. It's a thing. I didn't know, and it worked. So I'd like to see what my code actually says, like what he actually wrote in there. Patrick, if you're listening, can you show me sometime?
That's great.
Right? That'd be cool.
I can't imagine what that
Heckles
costs.
crowd.
Yeah. Oh man.
Dude, just come up and take their ID when they start heckling. Be like, I'll bring this right back to you. I'm putting a gift on it.
The question is like, if they heckled, how much beer do they buy? It's like
it's a ratio, right? Like,
it's like, do they buy the stuff with the best markup, or do they?
Yeah. If they buy the stuff with the best markup, then maybe like a onesie and twosie heckling is allowed. Like
only me. They can heckle me only.
Okay,
because
fair.
I don't want them ruining anybody else's.
That's
set.
true. Maybe you give them like a punch card.
Yeah,
it's allowed to get 10 heckles a year.
10 heckles a year. only while
for
Shawn's
Shawn.
on stage.
Yeah.
'Cause everybody that comes here has seen me enough. Like, they're probably like, let's punch up his material a little bit.
Right.
But yeah, I'll make a little punch card for people. So
and,
fun.
and just know, if you get this punch card, you're already an asshole.
Oh yeah,
Like-
it's a bad sign if we're like, take this when you leave. It's a bad sign.
Yes.
What do you? This is just a kind of random question that I hadn't written down, but like, what's probably because as somebody that runs a business, people always offer suggestions on what they think should be happening.
Yeah.
What are like the most common suggestions that people give you that like you're like, okay, like I have obviously thought of that, but I can't do it for this reason or whatever it might be?
Yeah. Definitely early on in my career, and you probably found that too with, early on opening the business. People I suggest just some outlandish things, like, oh, like, why don't you schedule things this way? Or why don't you book things this way? And, for the most part, I don't get it a whole lot now.
Yeah.
My biggest ones are, I had a client once be like, well, every other hair salon is closed on Sundays. You should be open on Sundays. I mean, look at all the clients you would get.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. And I don't really need to give you a reason except no.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think in my industry, hair salons, there's so many of us and we're all so different that I haven't really found that people, at least in the last few years, try to, direct me in any sort of way as far as how I should run my business.
Yeah.
Other than maybe, again, my operating hours, which has just been, for me, that's a boundary thing that I had to learn in my career. When I first started and I was building and growing and doing all that, I mean, I was behind the chair 80 hours a week sometimes.
Yep.
And, I had 2 small children and I missed so many things with them. And so as I built my clientele and built my brand and my business, I was able to get very specific about the times that I'm going to work.
Yeah.
And that way I can balance that with my family and my personal life and all of that. And I definitely, especially in the last 2 years, have made since selling the business, and especially since selling the business last year, have really made, that a hard line.
Yeah.
That it's like, I don't overbook myself. And, if I'm not available, I'm sorry. If I could do hair with my feet, I would charge a whole lot more.
Right.
So, I've only got 2 hands.
Yeah.
Not going to do so much. But
Right on. Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah.
That's the Sunday question is, it's pretty common around here where people are like, yeah, open on Sunday and you'll get everybody because nothing's open on Sunday. And it's like, yeah, but there's a reason for that because people don't go out on Sunday here. Like,
Correct. Yeah. They're going to brunch and then they're going home.
Exactly. They're going to go to brunch and then they're going to go home.
Yeah.
Or they're going to go to church and then go to lunch and then go home. I mean,
Correct.
that's basically what happens here.
Yes.
Or summertime, they might be going out on the lake.
Yeah, that's where I was yesterday.
You know?
Yeah.
But that's, trying, like, especially, I don't know what it's like with hairdressing, being a hairstylist, but like as a comedy club, it's like, yeah, everybody wants to go out the night before they have to go to a full week of work. Like,
Yeah, no.
Every day that you get closer to the weekend, it's more tempting for people to go out.
Yeah.
But Sunday is like the furthest from it. So.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
Yeah. So it's a little hard. But, all right. Well, we've been chatting for a while.
I love
it. So let's talk about it. You got some plans, some future plans?
I do. Yeah. So like Shawn said, I've lived all over and, grew up in Austin and then went East Coast and, got to experience different things in different places and, see the way things are run in, different areas. And I do travel a lot as well, but this is my home. And, after being here for almost 10 years, I love this city and I love the people in it and the community. So because of that, I'm going to take the next steps for not this coming election, but the following. So, in running for Bristol, Virginia City Council and see what I can do to help make a positive change in this area.
Hooray!
Yay!
I was holding that hooray till the end, but I was feeling it the whole time.
Those that hear this, that know me, won't be surprised. I mean, I have talked about it and let people know that, this is something I plan on doing for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't think they took me very seriously, though, at first. They're like, Becca, mayor? I don't know.
Yeah.
But truly, I've gotten more involved now in general with, just city politics.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, working with the city on getting a new skate park, here in Bristol. which is huge. We got Tony Hawk involved in that, and or his foundation.
Yeah.
And him as well. He's.
We'll say it's Tony.
He sent a whole video to us,
Nice.
about it, so he's aware.
I was just gonna say he came to town.
That's
he
right.
Gave
Yeah.
it a test run. Talk it up.
But I think it's not to take away from the people that are currently on council or that have been on council in previous years, but getting some newer ideas and vision into the city, I think, is needed, and I hope that more young people like myself get involved in city politics, because Shawn, you and I both know, and so probably everybody listening to this, national politics is crazy. I mean, I don't care what side you're on or where you're at. I mean, the whole thing is a mess.
Yep.
The change is going to happen on the local level.
Exactly.
And that is how you make a change in your community.
And focusing on what's happening in
Here.
your town and locally is really the best way to make change, is to,
Yes.
worry about your own backyard. And
yes. Because that stuff, unlike how we know trickle down economics don't work, but trickle up effects work. So, yeah.
Consumers having purchasing power certainly helps a consumer-based economy.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, yeah. So I think I would like to hope that, even when the time that I come and go to run, that, I've got some stiff competition, hopefully, and that there's going to be some other young people running as well.
I'm signing up to now. I live in Tennessee, so.
Yeah. It's okay. We'll change your address over to the shop address, and then I'll just pay your taxes for that month that you got to be only for the month that you need to vote for me.
Pay my taxes?
Just for the one election month, okay? And then we'll
Cool,
stick you back over in Tennessee.
Sweet.
The amount of clients that are going to be registered at my shop is going to be expensive.
We can start up like a fake rivalry. Just start
it.
we got to say things that are sort of mean to each other, but won't get us canceled, you know?
Yeah.
And that's how you create some buzz about something.
Yes,
People take a side.
That's right.
And then in the end, I'll do a good heel turn so that everybody on my side goes like,
Good,
no, Becca was right the whole time.
That's right. Yeah. Well, just leading up to, that's why, again, it's 3 years away, but people think that's a long time, but it's like, it truly is starting the process right now. And, getting involved and doing the things that need to happen. But, starting rival, and turf wars sounds great. Like, sounds like a great way to get elected. I mean, it's worked in the past.
I'll just yell things across from Tennessee, across the street to Virginia where you're at.
Yes.
I
like it.
Yeah.
I like it. So
Cool.
Very cool.
Well, that's great. Thanks for coming in and chatting with me today and sharing the big announcement.
Yeah,
And
I'm stoked.
It's been a lot of fun.
It is. Thank you.
Well, that's our show for this week. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to go visit Becca at Vision Salon and Day Spa. My name is Shawn Carter. You can come see me at the Blue Ridge Comedy Club anytime, particularly Wednesday through Saturday. That's when we're mostly doing stuff. Wednesday open mic, Friday, Saturday we bring headliners in from all over the country. Come join us for a laugh sometime. And special thanks to the musicians that created our intro and outro music. You can hear Dave Agar on the cello, Phil Facanti on the lead electric and acoustic guitar, as well as percussion, Blake Collins on the mandolin, KT Van Dyke on rhythm guitar and percussion, and Mike Stevenson on percussion. This is all recorded, mixed, and mastered by Mike Stevenson at Classic Recording right here in Bristol.